Today, we are going to dig into a classic Vietnamese folktale, the 100-knot bamboo tree. Now, on the surface, it seems like a pretty simple kid's story, but as you're about to see, its roots go so much deeper and they tell us a whole lot about the culture it comes from. So here's the big question for today. Can a simple story, a folktale about a magical tree, really be a key to unlocking the hidden values, the social tensions, and even the educational philosophy of an entire society? Well, let me tell you, the answer is way more fascinating than you might think.
All right, first things first, let's just get into the story itself. In Vietnamese, it's called Cây tre trăm đốt. At its heart, it's a tale about a promise, and a promise that gets broken.
Okay, so the story kicks off with a setup you've probably heard before. There's this kind, poor, but super hardworking farmer. He works for a really wealthy landowner, and this landowner makes him a deal. He says, "You work for me for 3 years, and I'll let you marry my daughter." Sounds pretty straightforward, right? A fair reward for honest work. But, yeah, you guessed it. After those 3 long years, the rich man completely backs out of the deal. Turns out he's already arranged for his daughter to marry someone else, another rich guy, of course. So to get rid of the farmer, he gives him this completely impossible task. He says, "Find me a single bamboo tree with 100 knots." A tree like that, it just doesn't exist. So the farmer, devastated, heads into the forest. He looks everywhere, finds nothing, and just breaks down, completely hopeless. And right at that moment, that's when the magic happens. A Bụt. Think of him as a sort of benevolent, supernatural figure, kind of like a fairy godfather. He appears and asks the farmer why he's crying. And this Bụt, he gives the farmer a totally brilliant solution. He tells him, go chop down 100 separate pieces of bamboo. Then he gives him 2 magic spells. Khak nyap, which means join, join, and khak suat, which means separate, separate. This is the absolute key, the thing that's going to turn the tables on that rich man. So the farmer hauls the 100 bamboo segments back to the village. The rich man comes out to inspect them, totally skeptical, right? And that's when the farmer quietly chants, "Khak nyap." And just like that, all the pieces magically fuse together into one long 100-knot bamboo tree, trapping the rich man against it. The only way he gets free is by finally promising to honor his word. And so our hardworking farmer gets to marry the daughter. Justice is served. It's a great story, isn't it? It's clever, it's satisfying, it's a classic underdog story. But you know what? If we stop right there, we're only scratching the surface. What's really going on underneath this charming little tale? So let's start peeling back the layers. First up, the most obvious one. At its most basic level, this story is a pretty straightforward lesson in virtue. And what's really fascinating is seeing how researchers have actually mapped these classic virtues to modern educational goals. The rich man's broken promise? That's a lesson in responsibility. The whole conflict? It's about teaching honesty over deceit. And our hero, the farmer, he embodies the value of hard work or diligence. It's like a perfect little package of moral instruction. And that brings us to our next layer. See, this story isn't just told at bedtime. Nope, it's actually a formal part of the Vietnamese education system. Let's take a look at how that works. That's right, the 100-knot bamboo tree is officially, formally part of Vietnam's national curriculum for moral education in primary schools. It's a state-sanctioned tool that's used to teach children about those core virtues we just talked about: honesty, responsibility, and fairness. And it's not just random. Educators use a very specific 3-step process to make sure the lesson sticks. First, the teacher tells the story, getting the kids emotionally invested. Second, they open up a discussion, a dialogic reflection, where students actually talk about why the characters did what they did. And third, and this is the most important part, is the transfer. They guide the students to connect the story's moral to situations in their own lives. Okay, so we've got a moral lesson and we have a classroom tool. But there is an even deeper layer here, a historical one that gets at the unwritten rules of an entire society. This is really the story behind the story. To really get this, we need to talk about the idea of a social contract. Now, this isn't a law that's written down anywhere. It's more like the shared, unwritten moral code that holds a society together. It's that collective gut feeling we all have about what's right, what's fair, and what's just. Now, when you look at the story through that lens, the characters totally transform. the farmer isn't just a good guy anymore. He represents the entire oppressed lower class. And the rich man? He's not just a bad guy. He represents a privileged upper class that has broken that social contract by exploiting the powerless. The story suddenly becomes a powerful allegory for class conflict. And this really gets at a powerful idea. Folktales are like mirrors. They reflect the deep, often hidden social tensions of the time they were created. They're basically a window into the worldview of the people who first told them, showing us exactly what they cared about, what they valued, and what they were afraid of.
So here's the really neat academic takeaway. This story actually fits into a specific scholarly category. It's called the unfortunate last-born tale type. Researchers argue that these kinds of stories became super popular during historical periods when society was shifting away from something called ultimogeniture. That's the old practice where the youngest child inherits everything. As those laws changed, the youngest kid often got left with nothing, and so they became this sympathetic hero in stories like this, which acted as a kind of cultural pushback. So, after all this, why does a simple story about a magic bamboo tree still matter so much today? Well, because it's so much more than just a story. It's what you might call a living artifact. I mean, think about it. As we've seen, this one little folktale is doing so much work all at once. It's fun entertainment for a kid. It's a moral compass that teaches right from wrong. It's an official tool used in the classroom. It's a historical record of social conflict. And maybe most importantly, it's a mirror that reflects a culture's deepest, most cherished values about justice and fairness. So, I want to leave you with this final thought. Think back to the stories that you grew up with, your favorite fairy tales or folk tales. What unwritten rules, what hidden social contracts, and what forgotten histories might be buried inside them, just waiting for you to uncover?